Hey guys, I'm Bart, and today I'm going to share with you my most prized possession. And my most prized possession I've had with me for over 15 years of my life, and it has gotten me out of a lot of sad times, and I was able to celebrate it with it during my happy times. And it's this purple blanket right here. Just kidding, no it's not. It's what's behind the purple blanket with the paws. So behind me is my most prized possession, and it's my drum set. I started playing drums when I was in 5th grade, and at that time I was just learning on a little drum pad. And the reason why I even started playing drums is because I wanted to join band really bad, and the elementary school band was called the Animal Crackers. I really wanted to play saxophone, but once I found out how much it cost, I think it was like 800 bucks at the time, I was like, dang, that's expensive, fuck that, I don't want my mom to spend 800 bucks. And the drum pad was only 50 bucks. You just gotta buy a little drum pad, little sticks, and you can start wailing away. So I was like, alright, I'm gonna play drums. That's nice and cheap, and it's the second manliest instrument in the band. The first one is saxophone, the second one is the drums, and you know guys gotta stay away from the flute. And then, after I started playing drums in an elementary school marching band, when I got into junior high, I wanted to learn how to play drum set. So that $50 drum pad turned into a $500 drum set. And I would play and play and play, and then I started getting better, and I kind of outgrew the drum set. So once I got into high school, that's when I got this set, and this set is an actual legit set. And back in the day, I think it cost $3,500. Recently, I went on Craigslist to see the same exact set, to see how much it's worth, and now the same set is worth, I think, like $7,000. So what's crazy is what started off as me trying to save my parents money, 50 bucks, it ended up turning into a $3,500 instrument, but it was a passion of mine. And the reason why I was saying it got me through a lot of sad times is because during my emo teenager phase, when I felt like no one would be able to understand me, like some kids would like go out and skate, some kids would go home and like draw and paint, and for me I would just go home. For me, I would just go home, put on some headphones, and I would just start playing along. It's like all my favorite songs all day. And during that time, I really liked Green Day, I liked Red Hot Chili Peppers, I liked Third Eye Blind, I liked Limp Bizkit, and I played a lot of funk. So I liked alternative rock, funk, and I played a lot of hip hop too. So that was like my favorites. The reason I said that I was also able to celebrate with it is because during my happy times, I was also able to express it. So drums was kind of like my canvas, you know, and like depending on how I felt, I was able to like channel that out and express it through my hands and feet. Yeah. My favorite genre of music to play to was funk, and the reason why I like funk so much is the groove is so important. So unlike metal, where it's just crazy like wailing, fuck my mom, kill my parents. Funk was like, it's all about finding that groove where it's that you find that, so he's like, and you want to match it with like the trumpets. You got the bass guy, and then when everyone vibes out together at the same time, there's this feeling of like musical sex, you know, and everyone's like battling it out, and everyone's in that same groove, they call it. Everyone's like syncopated. Drums it was kind of like that outlet for me, where like no matter what I did, no matter what phase of life I was in, being like more emo, you know, teenager, to selling drugs, to being a gangster, like regardless of where I moved, drums was always there for me, and finding that groove and being immersed in the music, like that was just something that always stuck with me. And I realized that regardless of what stage of life I'm in, drums will always be there for me. So that's when I realized drums is my most prized possession. So when I outgrew my old drum set, it was called Starlight, some stupid ass brand. It was like you know when you go into the music store, there's that like kid section, and you just buy it for your kids so they can fuck around and they can kind of leave you alone. That was the section where I bought that drum set from. It was just like that fucking shitty kid section. And then when I started getting good and I started jamming out with other musicians, I realized my sound, it would bring the whole band sound down because the instruments sounded cheap. You know, people had good guitars, good basses, good amps, and the sound is rich. So I was like, okay, cool, so I gotta get drums that also sound professional, sound nice and rich. And so I started doing some research. And once again, being the Asian guy that I am, my favorite brand at the time was DW Drum Workshop, but that shit is like the Ferrari of drums. Like the same exact drum set at that time, I got this for $3,500, that would have been like $6-7 grand. One of my favorite drummers at the time, Questlove, who plays for the Roots, he played on Yamaha. So I was like, oh dope, this guy likes to play on Yamaha. So I started to research. Drums have different types of wood that it's made out of, and each wood produces different sounds. We have maple, which is like this very loud and amplified sound, and a lot of rock musicians like maple. Birch is a much more controlled sound, so a lot of hip hop and funk artists like Birch. And then so when I found out Questlove used to play on a Birch Custom Absolute, I was like, I gotta get that. And then I got lucky because that was the first year that Yamaha came out with that line. So it actually came out a lot cheaper than what it was. So behind me I have a Birch Custom Absolute, but now, because Questlove put it on the map, now it's worth way more. Being a drummer, your ears become very sound connoisseurish, where like you can hear sounds and you're like, ah, that's good. And because of that, like when I hear like a lot of different music, all the drums in the back, they all sound very, very different. And then so at home, like sometimes I'll try different things on the drums. Like for example, on the bass drum, it's very common for you to stuff a blanket or a pillow in there so you can get that deep, like getting punched in the chest sound, like doo, 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 you know? And then people will put like little duct tape here and there to perfect that sound. And everyone has a very signature sound. Even though drums, they all sound like drums, it just sounds like banging. But there's actually a lot of differences, and I think because of that, my ears are actually pretty good at differentiating sound, just in general. So growing up, my mom wanted me to play piano. That's like the Asian standard instrument, but I didn't really find too much success there. I think it was because I was allergic to my piano teacher, so I'd always sneeze and stuff when he came around. And then I pretty much drew and wrote a bunch of obscenities on my piano notes. So when my mom found out that I had another musical interest, she wanted to nourish that a little bit more. And so she was pretty happy and enthusiastic to bring me to my first music store, which was in Lakewood, to buy my drum pad. And as I progressed, she was willing to help support that. I think the biggest step though was stepping from the $500 drum set, which is still affordable in some cases, to the $3,500 one, because that one is a huge commitment. But I think by that time, I have already played drums for about a good 5 years now, and she saw the dedication of me playing like 2 or 3 hours every single day, where she was like, okay, it's not one of those things where like when your parents try to buy the kid like roller skates, and then the parents like, are you really gonna play with this? Because I don't want to spend all this money on roller skates if you're just gonna play with it for 2 weeks and then throw it in the back of the garage. She saw me play for 5 years straight, so she was, although it was very expensive for her at the time, she was willing to make that investment. And then we ended up shopping around, and we went to Sam Ash, and then we ended up at Guitar Center, and then she used her Asian bargaining tactics, and then we got a good deal. I don't think I'll ever part ways with this particular drum set, just because it has a lot of sentimental value for me. And even if I buy drum sets that are a lot more expensive or a lot quote-unquote better, I think I will still hold on to this one, just because this is where I had most of my musical development on. I don't think just because my mom bought it for me, it has sentimental value, because there are things that my dad bought for me that also has sentimental value. But I think it's the whole situation and circumstance that it was in. So for example, I've only had a few passions, and drumming was one of them. And so for my mom, who's like a super Asian tiger mom, to be able to recognize that and support that, that meant a lot to me. And also my mom being a single mom with a single income in the family, we grew up poor. So for her to also invest such a large sum of money back then also meant a lot to me too. And also when we moved houses in Cerritos, when we were designing the house, my mom actually designed like a small area of the house for me to put my drums there. So now that the drums aren't there, if you go to my mom's house, there's just like this big empty square of a window area. And so I think all of that put together meant a lot to me. Thank you for watching my most prized possession. For other videos in my life that you would like to see, let me know in the comments below. Type it on the QWERTY keyboard. For more videos, click over here.
Well, in the event that a guest comes over and there's no dishes that are clean and they just so happen to see this mug, they pick it up, they start drinking out of this mug, I think